let's wrap up with the big two graphic novels, highly influential from 1980. What technically year one was 87, Killing Joke was 88. We're just kind of lumping them together for the purposes of this conversation. Batman Year One and Batman the Killing Joke. We see our friend the Joker behind us on the screen.
That's the wrong one. That should totally be a. It's not actually
the Jared Leto one.
Well, we'll just fire our producer behind. Yeah.
Somebody in the comments is gonna point it out. They're like, "Oh, it's actually from a different one."
Well, Mr. Expert, tell us about it.
So yeah, The Killing Joke is a very strange little graphic novel because it's very short.
Yes.
It's a character study about Batman and the Joker by Alan Moore. And what the basic premise is that the Joker wants to prove that anybody can go insane if enough bad stuff happens to him.
Because of his past, of his one bad day.
Yeah, and it gives you a lot of insight to the Joker. Gorgeous artwork. Like the colors in that book are really fascinating. But it's funny because it's kind of, if you take it just at face value, not much happens. You know,
True.
it's not a thrilling. It's about like it's like a short play almost. Like it's very much about
a novella in graphic novel form.
Exactly, and we saw a lot of its kind of its guts, its portrayal of the Joker get used in The Dark Knight.
Yes.
Conversely, year one obviously was pretty much the basis for Batman Begins.
Absolutely.
With a few kind of bits and pieces in there. Again, there's Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli. I think I'm saying his name right, but it was actually I think it was a 3-issue stretch of the main 4 issue of the main Batman storyline. They basically just kind of derailed it, and they're like, Miller, take it away. Like, here you go. And he told the story about Batman becoming Batman, and how he was bad at it at first, but then he learned and got a cape.
Yeah.
The end. Anyone else want to take over on this?
For me, this was interesting because I'd read The Dark Knight Returns, but I hadn't read these two. So in preparation for this, I read them for the first time at age 34 in 2015. And yeah, I was shocked at how much Batman Begins sources year one, which is great. I mean, I think, I love Batman Begins, and it's basically, Begins bolts on all the Ra's al Ghul stuff, but a lot of the rest of it's fundamentally pretty well all there, complete with, holding up against the police at the end and calling, using those little shoe RF thing to bring the bats in. And then, so I love that, even though it has a very kind of distinctly 80s vibe to it, I would say, art-wise.
Yeah, I feel like it was very, very stripped down, like very kind of like
yes.
Batman always kind of exists in his own time period. It's not really real life,
Right.
There'll be bits and pieces here and there, but I can't really speak to it because I wasn't really around in the 80s, but it always seemed to me like it sort of took place earlier, but without really hitting you over the head with it. And it's got that, if you compare it to Dark Knight Returns, which is all Miller just being like, very cartoony and very political and very kind of like loud and busy. Year one is very simple. Like it's like a stripped down detective story. Like it's like here's year one. It's not glamorous. You're starting out,
Interesting.
Yeah, and Killing Joke, having just read that, like, I don't even know how I feel about it yet.
That last panel of them just laughing with each other.
I'm like, I don't know. I know, like, it had the intended effect. It's supposed to, if the whole thing is the Joker is sort of playing a mind game with you, well, you're kind of, Moore kind of plays a mind game with the reader by the end. Like, well, what just happened? We got, Batman's got his hand on, like, laughing and reaching out with his hand on Joker's shoulder, so what happens next? And
I loved the dichotomy of, like, we both had a bad day and we just went completely different ways, but you could have easily ended up just like where I am, insane.
Yeah.
It's like, that's so great. I
Yeah,
love it.
an interesting thing to do is to watch the Nolan movies and then go and read Year One, Killing Joke, Long Halloween, and then Dark Knight Returns, because those are all very drastically different comics that might as well not even be in the same. I mean, some of them aren't even really in the same. Like, Dark Knight Returns is kind of its own thing. Nolan managed to weave all those together and create a cohesive trilogy, but drawing from all over the place and kind of flipping in there. Adapting it, if you will.
Adapting it for the screen.
Yeah.